At that time, do you know what I'm saying? Things were so low under Jose. I think the only way was up. Like, I can see Martial's playing within himself. I can see Pogba's pissed off. He's not even playing. We know what Lukaku's ego is like because he scores goals wherever he's gone. So he's like, wherever I go, I need to be number one because I will score goals. I get it. Our biggest thing wasn't getting rid of Lukaku. The biggest thing was not replacing him. I used to say this thing that he used to do, it's pissed me off, You see the New York traffic man them in Times Square just pointing and waving and that, That's what he used to do, brother. He tripped over the ball at Southampton, mash up his knee. Remember that? Remember that? Yeah, he tried to step over some bullshit. Yeah. Come on, bro. Like, you think Martial's ever doing that?
Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of the Beautiful Game podcast. This is the second episode of our brand new series, PL20. And we're starting off the second episode with a detailed analysis of Man United. I'm joined with Dej. Dej, how you doing, bro?
I'm good, Doc, man. That first episode, it went down well. The viewers were loving it, loving the insight. And we thought there wasn't, two better people to break down the fortunes of Manchester United. So, without further ado, Doc, I know you want to, bring in the guests.
Gaz, how you doing, bro? It's been a while. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me. I was just going to say as well, I listened to the Liverpool episode on Monday and I loved it. Especially, I was saying to Nino, I love the insight from Melissa on Liverpool. As I'm honest, I didn't really know who she was, which is a bit telling on me, I guess. But having done some research and listened to what she said, it's really, really, really good episode. And Bubbles as well, she did really, really well. So you guys, that was a great episode. Hopefully we can follow up with another one.
Appreciate that, guys.
And
we've got another guest. This man needs no introduction to our channel. He's a kingpin of YouTube, hosting on United Stand. This is someone that we look up to. We've seen parts of his journey. We were fortunate enough to meet him at the Andy Cole event where he put on a clinic. We've seen him on Sky bamboozling the people there. They were thinking, where's this guy coming from? That insight was mad. So without any further ado, Flex from United Stand TV, welcome to the platform.
Yes,
welcome,
big
Flex,
up, man. You lot, stop with all that, man. Stop with all that. It's just like I said, I keep telling you lot, bro. Serious, we're just regular fans just doing our thing, man. Serious. I don't even do the whole, pedestal.
Take your flowers, man. Take your flowers,
Take your flowers, man.
Take your flowers,
Flex is trying to do all shy,
It's crazy. Because you see that side of it. Like, it's not really. Like, I'm just cool. I'm just chilled in it. I'm not really. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't really see it like that. But no, I appreciate the words, man, and I'm happy to be on. I'm happy to be on for sure.
It's a pleasure, Flex, man. Thank you for taking time out, man. We appreciate it. So, you know what? Enough talking. Let's get straight into this. We're covering, the spell of the end of Mourinho's tenure leading up to what we're seeing today with Man United. So just take us through Mourinho's last summer transfer window. What do you think happened? Because that's when it seemed to me like everything unraveled. So I'm going to start with Flex.
It's quite simple, really. The club never backed him. The club thought your ideas are dead. We don't believe in where you're trying to take us. His relationships with players were already fractured. And he basically threw his toys out the pram from early with that. Sort of saying, I need this, I need that, I haven't got it, but all right, cool, I'll just go with what I've got. Kind of, so if you're a centre half at the club already, and you've got Jose in the press conferences saying, we must get another centre half, we need this, we need that. How are the other centre backs going to feel if you're publicly doing that? So that was one of a big no-no. So we started off on a bad with that. And I think what we really saw was the proper breakdown of relationship between the board and him. They gave Mourinho money. Do you know what I'm saying? You got Mkhitaryan in there, you got Sanchez in there, big money. Pogba, Zlatan, they spent money for this guy. Fred, but the signings at the time weren't working. And the players that we currently had were regressing. we had a few good moments, a few good spells of form, but it showed where we was at as a club and where we're still fighting to get back from. So yeah, to answer the question, it was the first time we saw the real cracks in the relationship between the board and the manager.
Yeah, so Gaz, I'm going to move on to you. Obviously, we saw the treatment of Marcus Rashford. There was a game in particular in Europe when he missed the chance and Mourinho turned around to the bench.
Yeah, made a scene of it.
Yeah, made a scene. I mean, you're a coach. Like, what would you make of that personal coaching, and how do you assess what he done there, and how do you assess the way Mourinho deals with his players?
Not my way. With football's such an emotional game, and at times it's hard to control those emotions. But he's in a position of leadership and power, and how you react at times can be very can demonstrate how you feel about your players as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's not to doubt that he really rated Rashford, because I think he actually really genuinely appreciated what Rashford brought to the team and what Rashford could have gone on to have been for Man United under his stewardship. But for me personally, he's a showman as well. And he knows him doing that makes a scene, it causes headlines, it causes a story. For me personally, I wouldn't deal with it that way. And I also think one relationship that's quite demonstrative of his time at United was the Martial one. Because when Martial played, Martial did really well, generally under Mourinho, as in he would score goals. I think the winner he scored against Tottenham was an example of that. When he did he come off the bench, Flex? I think he did against Tottenham.
Yeah, and he got put through in it, and he's like through 1-1. Yeah,
that's the one.
1-0 win.
Against a really good Tottenham team as well. But at the end of the day, it didn't seem like he rated Martial enough to make him a core of that team, especially when we had a lot of big guns like Zlatan at the time, who came in and took the 9 shirt off him. Mkhitaryan was there. We had a lot of players that...
Sanchez was the worst one.
So that was the big blow.
When you got him in January, and Martial was playing wicked at that time, and he just bombed him out.
I think he'd scored like 5 in... I can't remember the record.
He had like player of the month, everything. He was playing well. And Sanchez just came in and he just buoyed him out.
He absolutely... Yeah. Go on.
Sorry, Gaz and Flex. Do you guys think that, the signing of Alexis Sanchez has pretty much ruined what Man United were doing at the time?
No, but I think it was... Look, we spent a lot of money in terms of wages on him alone. And I think the Sanchez signing was just unnecessary, if I'm really honest with you. Especially, I get we wanted to get rid of Mkhitaryan, or he wasn't necessarily wanted. But Martial was doing really well for us at the time. It just didn't really make sense to me, the signing. So that's my take on it. So
yeah, I agree. In the end, it's ended up undoing stuff. It definitely has. I can't lie. Most Man United fans, we were all gassed. We all got sucked into the appealingness of it. It was funny taking another of Arsenal's star players. It was more of the social media thing.
Yeah, the memes. I remember.
We got sucked in. Like I'll admit it. Like, as football fans, we're very fickle like that. It's very hard. And that's what I have learned over especially the last three years being involved in football as much as I am now, to look at things like contextually, because like it's so easy to just get gassed. Like I got sucked into. I was like, Sanchez, oh my God, man's playing the piano. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. Like it was crazy, and it just didn't work. And things can happen. What happened to Torres when he left? Like it can happen. Couldn't hit a barn door at Chelsea for ages. Pretty much the whole time he was there, really. But like it definitely stifled Martial's growth. It stifled his form and showed that like Jose just had no confidence in him. And then there was another time where Jose dug him out because he was like, you asked me to play Martial here? Look, he doesn't score. You asked me to play him here on the left? Look, I remember that press conference as well. Can't remember who it was against, but again, just digging him out.
Yeah, Flex, you're very close to the Man United fans. You always interview them after games. So was there a specific moment when Mourinho lost the fans? Because you could see moments where you probably thought,
loads.
The dressing room. Loads. But where was the moment where he lost the fans?
There's a couple. The two that stand out to me is Seville, the Seville game in the Champions League. And did we draw? I think we drew 0-0.
Yeah,
the first leg.
Was this the
First
football
leg.
heritage stuff?
Yeah, we drew 0-0, right? And then he stunk the place out. Like we had hardly any shots on target. Like it was a bore fest, and we got played off the park. Really, Seville should have won, and then we went out to Seville. Then we lost anyway. But I remember him saying, like, there's players in that team that would come here, look at Seville's record in the competition and all of that. And Man United fans thought, do you know what? Even if what you're saying could be true, even if Steven and Zonzi can come and walk into our team right now because it's shit, yeah? Like, we're not paying you, or the club isn't, to tell us our history. Like, when we've been knocked out. Because he started doing this, like, Man United knocked out group stages this time. Only round of 16 this time. Like, telling us, reciting back as if to say, what do you expect? Like, you lot have been shit before I come is basically what he's saying.
Yeah, but Flex,
like,
wasn't that a plea to the fans saying that I need some more time to build the team in my image? And once I can do that, that's when we're going to take steps forward.
You see what, yeah? It probably was. But like you was just saying there, it's the way Mourinho does things and the way he communicates. And once you lose the fans by speaking out in a certain way and doing certain things, this was just the first of many. And also, as a manager, that's fine. You need time, you need patience, and I get that. And managers don't get that a lot of the time. But like I always say, yeah, the managing thing, especially a new manager, is like the Netflix series thing, yeah? If you watch the first couple of episodes of a series and that, and it doesn't grip you, it doesn't make you think, let me see where this goes, you buy out. And I know that might seem a little bit like black and white, because football, you need to give it time, even if you're not sure what you see. But if it goes on too long without you seeing methods, patterns of play, players buy into it, signs. Like you see with Klopp, people say about Klopp and they didn't win nothing and all that, but there were clear signs of what Klopp was doing early doors. There was clear signs with what Pep Guardiola was doing early doors. Pep Guardiola tried to play the same football but just had dead man. He had Clichy left back. He had Sagna right back. He had flipping Mangala and all these man there. Di Michaelis had to retire. Like he just couldn't play these man with that style. But what did he do? You could see what he's trying to buy into, and his board backed him, and he got the right guys. Jose kind of started going, like, he wanted to buy, like, Perisic at 30, Willian, all these players that, like, it's not where the club wanted to go. So it's the club's fault. I'm not just blaming Jose, because they've brought this guy in really out of panic. Do you know what I'm saying? At the same time, City just got Pep, and it was like Jose was waiting in the wings, big name. It was like, just go and get him. You just have to do it, which is probably why the whole Pochettino thing now, where Pochettino's just been waiting there. I think they've learned. Actually, see where this thing's going. But yeah, it was a bit of a plea to him. But back to the original question, what you was asking, which is where did he start losing it? It was Sevilla, and then there was one at West Ham as well, where he got battered 3-1. That was another one.
I think also it's hard to lose United fans. Like, generally speaking, the United fan base are quite loyal, just because that's all we've kind of known is to have one manager. We stick to that manager. Fergie was the football club, and all we knew was to support a manager through thick and thin. So the fact that, and I think even Moyes, to especially the stadium going fan base, the fans that would go to matches every week, Moyes had that fan base up until he got sacked, I believe. Like, don't get me wrong, there were boos and so on and so forth, but generally speaking, they still really wanted him to succeed. The fact that Mourinho lost the fan base was very telling on him as a character at United at the time, I believe.
100%. And there were so many bits of, like, footage, or you can see the fractious relationship between him and so many players. Do you see what I mean? Like, I remember how he was dealing with Pogba towards the end, right at the end. Like, it was Liverpool 3-1 away. That was his last game. And he put McTominay in there. And at the time, McTominay hadn't even bust yet. It was like, who is this kid? What does he do? Sort of thing. Like, we can see what he does now, fair play, and he's done well. But at the time, you know what I mean? Obviously, still not levels to Pogba. But at the time, it was like, right, just dissing me, putting in the young kid. He's making a point. There was the spat that they had on camera at Tottenham away. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? When they were, you know, doing that, and he's going, what are you doing? The training ground where Pogba just looked at man. You know, when a man just look at man, just give him that stares. And what are you talking about? Who are you talking to? You know that you can't hide them things. They all at the forefront, and the club just couldn't have it anymore.
And I think he dropped Pogba for the Seville game, no? Second leg?
Yep, second leg.
That's bonkers. That's it.
Mad.
When you need a win?
Yeah, Gaz, what I wanted to ask you is to look at Mourinho from a tactical standpoint. So when he was appointed at Man United, What tactical changes did you see in the Man United team?
We definitely, well, for a fact, we weren't as focused on possession, coming from the LVG era, where it was a lot of positional-based possession game, about retaining possession and switching the ball from side to side up until we can find sort of pockets. But it was ultra. It was a very negative possession-based game from LVG. And don't get me wrong, there were moments in big games where it really worked. So the Liverpool 2-1,
Brilliant performance. Yeah.
Jokes aside, I know you're not a Liverpool fan, so you think I'm taking liberties, but I'm proper not. That was one of the best Man United performances I've seen under LVG in terms of how he controlled the game. We had the City game as well, which I think we ended up winning 4-1.
4-1. Fellaini scored as well, yeah.
Fellaini scored, and then we had a Tottenham game as well, I believe. LVG did really well in those games because there was a lot more space for him to play, or for his teams to play. Mourinho came in and was a lot more assured defensively, for sure, not as focused on possession. But what we luckily had, I guess, with Mourinho, he brought in quality players. Mkhitaryan came in, struggled at first, and then got better towards the middle half of the season. Ibrahimovic is Ibra, can't question it. Pogba, star quality. Eric Bailly came in and did well for his first season. From my memory.
He did. Lukaku came in the second season and done well.
Second season as well. So we weren't as focused on the possession side of things. I would say we were probably looking to get the ball forward quicker. In many ways, whether it's passing through the lines, whether it's targeting Zlatan and then playing off him. So I'd say that it was a big shift from LVG, even though they both have similarities. I think Mourinho worked under him at Barcelona. There are similarities, but I think Mourinho took what he saw from LVG and what he didn't like and sort of mirrored it in his career. And I don't think Mourinho, throughout his career, there has been changes, but you always see similarities in how his teams approach games. At the end of the day, the main focus is to make sure that we try not to concede goals and we don't concede space to opposition. And I think we saw that at United, even though there were times where we still didn't look good enough. So, yeah.
I think last question on Mourinho until, we move on to the manager now, which is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But I just want to ask you guys to be as objective as possible. How do you rate Jose Mourinho's tenure at Man United?
You can go. Yeah.
I'd say if you ask me to rate out of 10, I'd say a 5 or a 6. Probably more of a 5, because I don't think he left us in great shape. He left a very fractious dressing room that was disjointed with players unhappy. His way of buying players clearly didn't work. The club already decided that they wanted to go in a new direction, which is partly their fault. But obviously, he did get a couple of trophies, and you can't blame him for that. Obviously, winning the Europa League, EFL Cup's nothing to shout about, but it's a trophy. He tried to count the Community Shield and all sorts, but it was two. So yeah, but the volatility of how he left and the relationships he broke, I don't like to give him, me personally, I can't give him much more than a 5, because he left some quality there, of course, because we had quality when he came, though. We had Martial, we had Rashford. We had these type of players that we're seeing shine now. We had the Luke Shaws and Eric Bailly, okay, he brought in, but and Lindelof actually as well. But I don't know. I don't see that he did enough. He did enough. That season where he finished second and he said that's one of his greatest ever achievements. And I know since he's left and how far we've fallen after he left, a lot of United fans actually went back and went, oh, actually, you know what? He's got a point, which I can kind of see. But look, the league was horrendous. Do you know what I'm saying? And
it's a different league.
100%, and we were 20 points off Man City, something stupid like that. So
which players did Mourinho improve, would you say?
Improve? It's such a big word. I'll give him credit for bringing through McTominay, because at the time, McTominay wasn't like a player that, like, you see how Mason Green has been lighting up the reserves, right? And it's like every Man United fan has known about this kid coming through and he's going to be a star sort of thing. And then he comes through, he scores double figures goals like he has this year, and you can see the pattern. McTominay, I don't think was that. And when he came in, a lot of Man United fans up and down the grounds, after every game when he was starting, we brought this kid through. It was like, what does this kid do? Like, what? Why is it looked like Mourinho was just bringing him in just to bring a point against the other players who he didn't like? But fair play to McTominay, he's done brilliantly. So I give him credit for that. Did he improve Rashford? Like G said, he played him a lot, but I think the mismanagement hurt Rashford. He was pulled from pillar to post. Same with Martial. Martial definitely didn't thrive under him. Martial went backwards. Confidence was rocked. Martial actually looked like a player, like just sucked off his powers as well. Like he just looked so low on confidence.
And you know what's crazy? I would say even now we're still seeing fragments of what Mourinho maybe, I don't want to say did to him, but the Martial we had then isn't the same Martial now. And that's not to say he's still not a good player. But I feel like his game has somewhat changed from what it was under LVG, where he would... And obviously you mature as a footballer, don't get me wrong, but I love the Martial that would take the ball, take on a man, and have a shot at goal or link play. And now he's become more of a... Obviously he plays as a 9, so I know there's reasons behind that, but generally speaking now, he's somewhat like more of a link player, doesn't take as many risks as he used to. And he seems to still be lacking that same zest and confidence he had when he first came to the club.
Absolutely. We still haven't seen him like be in blistering form like he was that first season he came under LVG. But what has been good about Martial this year, if you look at it now, like I think he's got nearly his best goal return. Nearly. Yes. I think he was 16 goals in his first season. But he's there or thereabouts with adapting to a new system, new manager, and being the focal point of the attack once again, which he probably hasn't been since 2016. Do you know what I mean? 15-16 season. So
so before we move on, guys, so finally, how would you rate Mourinho's time in charge of Man United?
I'd give it a 5. Possibly, I think maybe a 6 because of the trophies. When you can't take away trophies from him, I think it was the Carling Cup we won, along with the Europa League. Can't take that away from anyone. Even though they're not the best trophies you could win in the season, it's still a success, especially in his first year. But you can't overlook the regression of Rashford, I believe, the regression of Martial, the relationship with
Eric Bailly. What happened to him?
He's been
injury prone. When Bailly's fit and he's played a consistent amount of games, that guy is a really, really good centre back. Yeah. But generally speaking, I think throughout his career, he's not really played many professional matches. And I think that's been a big cost to him in terms of development and learning your trade as a centre back, because he can tackle, he can read play, he's got great athleticism, and he's quite good on the ball as well. But he's just not played enough. Who else regret? Pogba. I don't think Pogba pushed on to be the player he was. So I wouldn't say he regressed. He just sort of Pogba's Pogba.
Just stagnated. Yeah,
massively.
The only man he improved, I'll say, is Fellaini, bro, and Matic. these man were his little love childs, bro. These man were his players, bro. Big 6'5" man that he was just trying to build a flipping team of trees, bro. Like this is him. Lukaku
look a shell of him. He look a shell of himself.
Exactly, 100%. To the point where, like, as fans, don't get me wrong, it got a bit toxic for him as well, because it was well known that he wanted to leave early doors, but he was just looking not confident. You know what I'm saying? Like, just playing dead, and just collectively, we just played dead football. Do you know what I'm saying, guys? Like he said, we just played shit football, and that's the be all and end of it. I'm not saying we play blistering, sparkling football now, because we're still way off where we want to be. But obviously we'll get to the now. But I just think it was boring, passive football. And I think Mourinho's been a victim of a manager whose methods and techniques are just outdated. He got outdone by the likes of Pep and Klopp, and even, Nuno at Wolves, and all these types of new style managers. These old school managers are getting outdone by these men, because football's moved on, and them methods there are not working. And we started to see, yes, he's missing a lot of players at Spurs, but we saw the frailties in there. What you associate with a Mourinho team is solid at the back and work from there. I'm not seeing that at Spurs.
Visible.
Yeah, they had a lot of injuries, but even defensively, they just leak loads of goals. That's not what Mourinho does.
Yeah, so fast forward, you know, Mourinho was sent packing after that game against Liverpool, the 3-1 when Shaqiri came off the bench and, you know, delighted Liverpool.
Rastas up, mate.
Yeah.
I can tell they're just really enjoying this. They're just really enjoying it.
Remember this, you know what I mean?
The
Go on,
final
Dej.
nail in the coffin.
Let him have his time. He's still waiting to win the league, so let him have his time.
Yeah, so obviously there was rumours about who was going to replace Mourinho. And Oli seemed a bit like a left field choice. Obviously, hadn't managed at a top level. But Oli was appointed. What was your first reaction? Was it like, safe pair of hands, old Man United legend? Or were you thinking, there's someone else in the market that we should have gone for?
I think if you go off what United did prior, I think when we sacked Moyes, we brought in Giggs as a temporary. That's how I expected Oli to be. When Oli first came in, I expected it to be quite temporary, short term, until we then go and find whoever we wanted to go and find, whether it would have been, I don't know, try to get a Poch or more of a high profile name. So when obviously Oli came in, it was a bit of a surprise, but then obviously the rumours were running riot for a day or two, or maybe a bit more, that he was going to come in. And then initially, he, you know, the football was quite entertaining, to be fair, you know. It kind of got everyone a bit excited. I think we played Cardiff, and we played really, really well. Martial was linking with Pogba and Rashford, and it was one touch, two touch. Lingard looks good initially, to be fair to him. I know he's kind of had a dip in form for the last year or year and a half. But prior to that, the interplay and the one touch, that game especially sticks in my mind. I remember watching it. I was just like, Martial looks on fire, Pogba on fire, really excited for it. But generally speaking, I didn't expect Oli to last as a long-term appointment up until obviously that night in Paris.
I think just as a neutral fan, I'm trying to be a bit subjective, but that run towards the back end of the season, I think it was around 9 wins in a row or so. But when I was analysing the games, they looked much closer than the actual result. And it seemed to me that Man United were extremely clinical. And from the outside looking in, I saw that after a while, the results are going to plateau and there's going to be a decline in results, as we saw. Did you guys think that at the time, Flex?
You know what? Towards the back end of the season, it was horrendous. It was to the middle of the season where it was good, and then after March, after PSG, bam! It just went from March to May. It was horrendous. It was horrendous. I remember coming back from PSG. Thinking, obviously it was that PSG again. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought,
wasn't it the Tottenham game as well? The Tottenham.
Yeah, and the Tottenham game as well. I thought, what's happened? Like, he's the guy. Like, I was like, look what's going on. Like, we're just winning games. But again, this is what I was saying to you guys earlier that I've learned to do, probably from being stung, look at things contextually, because whereas all the rival fans and other pundits and people who didn't really rate Man United anyway were saying, of course he's going to go in there. He's gone in there with a smile, made everyone feel comfortable again and got a bounce back. That's what it was. That's what it was at that time. Do you know what I'm saying? Things were so low under Jose. I think the only way was up. The only way Pogba was going to play was good after that idiot had left. The only way Rashford was going to play well again was, again, it's just a new freshness about it. And the nostalgia behind Solskjaer, it worked for that time, for that period. But I think you're right there. It plateaued, and it plateaued in a big way. And then I think also the way Oli wanted them to play in them first, 17 games or whatever it was when we went on that run right up until PSG. The way that Oli wanted them to play, which was quite energetic, it was very, very front foot. They were running a lot more. They were pressing a lot more. I think these men gassed out as well. They just couldn't keep it. And when the bad results started to kick in, they just couldn't pull themselves out of that rut. I remember the last 2 games of that season. I'll never forget it. It was Huddersfield away and Cardiff at home. And at this time now, everyone's bottling the 4th place. Arsenal had lost at home to Crystal Palace, I think, and Burnley or something like that, and Brighton or someone, and bottled it. Brighton. Yeah, they done them over. Chelsea were dropping points. Spurs were dropping points. Everyone was just bottling it, yeah? And all we had to do, after having loads of chances already and bottling it, all we had to do was beat Huddersfield and beat Cardiff, and we would have got top 4. And I remember being 1-0 up against Huddersfield, draw. And I remember thinking, well, obviously it's pretty much done. And then we got slapped 2-0 at home against flipping man like Neil at Cardiff. You know what I'm saying? So it was a terrible end to the season. And then we got kicked up at Everton. Bad. 4-0.
4-0.
So when you look at Ollie coming in, was his tactics simply go out there and express themselves, or did you see a much more tactical methodology behind it?
It's a tough one, you know.
It is a tough one
because it's those are the. I can't like with. It's easy to say because with Pep, you know what you're gonna get. So when you see it, you know what you're talking about. We have no previous understanding of what Ollie was about, really. What we saw initially was a lot more of interplay between the front four, front three. We definitely saw a more high tempo, high energy game. And I'd like to think and say those were tactics that because he's spoken about it as well. He generally did say when he came in, I want us to play a high tempo, I want us to attack,
play with more freedom, all of that.
Play with freedom and pass the ball forward as quickly as possible. So I'm going to give him the benefit of that to say, yes, those were things that he wanted to implement and things that he did implement. But what I did notice, there were times where he kind of went back on himself
100%.
and would say we want to play a certain way, but we didn't play that way. And it was, or the lineups didn't necessarily match up to what he said we wanted to do. And I think we saw that in the back end of the season where he came in as caretaker, where the results started to dip slightly and our performances weren't as replicative of what he had initially said he wanted us to do. But yeah, given you can't take away from what he did initially, and I have to give him credit for that. So,
do you know what? I'd say, like, because of his lack of being able to sustain that after a real bad period, in that period, I lean more towards it was like just a bit of a breath of fresh air, and the players just kind of thought, thank God the shackles are off. I have to think that now because, and that's not maybe where we are now, because I think he's building something and we'll get to where we think he's going to get to and all that. But in terms of, do I think that was a tactical genius when he came in, or do I think it was a breath of fresh air? I lean a little bit more to the side of breath of fresh air, new surroundings, and the smiles on faces, because it wasn't sustainable. It was through a 3-month period. It's a purple patch. So that's like saying if a striker's in good form, yeah, and he hits like, I don't know, 15 goals in 3 months or whatever, and then the whole rest of the season and the rest of the career after that, he don't bang. And he's not going to be remembered as a wicked striker. He's going to be always remembered as a guy who had that patch. You know what I'm saying? You could say that's what Jason Lingard did. He had that little period where he was doing really well and it's gone a bit south now. But I think at that time, he definitely did say, I want him to play with more freedom and stuff like that, which I think they did do. I don't disbelieve that he's gone in there and said, guys, express yourself, interchange, run after the ball like mad when we lose it. I think that is quite easy to do when you come into Man United at that point, because it was so low. The bar was on the floor. It was a horrible place to be.
I think also you have to I think sometimes we take away credit from footballers to think that they can't think for themselves. At the end of the day, they're the ones that are on the pitch. So when Martial, Pogba, Rashford are linking up and they're playing really well together, if they were playing football in a park, they would do the same thing. That's what they would be doing. They'll be playing, training. That's what they would be doing. They'll be playing like that because that's how they want to play football. Mm. I think sometimes we get so lost in sort of tactics because that's what the game's kind of become.
Proper individuals.
We forget that footballers can just be individuals and think for themselves and play for themselves as well.
Well, shouldn't Ollie get credit for that as well, for letting the shackles off and saying, play 100%, how you want to play?
100%. But that's the bit I'm talking about going into that dressing room and seeing. We could all see that. Like, you know what I'm saying? If any of us went into that dressing room, we would have said the same thing. Like, I can see Martial's playing within himself. I can see Pogba's pissed off. He's not even playing. I can see that Rashford's been pulled from pillar to post. So I'm going to go in there, put my arm around Martial and say, right, you're my striker. Don't worry, I believe in you. Or sorry, Lukaku at the time. I'm going to go in there and say, Rashford, come on. You're young. You come through this youth rank. I've played at this club 20. I know what it takes. I know how hard it is. Let's go. I believe in you. You're gonna do that. Every one of us would do that. Do you see what I'm saying? So, and the bit on the individuals is so key because there was a period in Jose's tenure where the individuals, as individual players, in individual moments, saved him his job, kept him going. kept him going. And there's been a little bit like that with Oli. When Pogba done a madness and that, I don't think it's team tactics and all that. It's just Pogba doing a madness. Or it's just Martial brocking a man and fit. Do you know what I'm saying? Moments of isolated periods which look great, but they're not sustainable over 38 games. You need a system, you need a pattern of play that's going to put the opposition under constant pressure. So they even cave in.
There's definitely going to be games where you can't rely on those individual moments
100%.
of brilliance. And then you're going to need the coach, the manager, the 100%. First team coaches, whoever's involved with that to come up with something that will win the game, especially, I guess, in those bigger games.
Exactly. And I saw that even at the back of Jose's tenure as well.
So, obviously, moving forward to the summer, to me, it seemed like the club, had to re-look at their strategy. I mean, Ed Woodward, Matt Judge, they've been heavily criticised by, millions of fans across the world. And it seemed like the strategy was, we're going to buy British players that are hungry for the club, that know what Man United mean, and we're going to get rid of all the players that don't encompass the club's philosophies. Obviously, we saw the departure of Romelu Lukaku for big money. We saw Alexis Sanchez leave that summer. What do you think of the club's new strategy, bringing in, Aaron Bissaka, Daniel James, and Harry Maguire for a world record fee as a centre-back?
The interesting thing is Harry Maguire is a good defender.
Yeah, he is.
And he's got good qualities. It seems to me, from what we've been told by the media, he has good qualities as a captain and as a man in the dressing room. We definitely overpaid for him, no doubt. Like, really massively overpaid for him. But I would still say he's a good addition, generally speaking.
100%.
Well, I remember Saka. The interesting thing about that is he, as we know, is a great defender in terms of what he does. And we know he's frailties in terms of going forward, but he's been working on, which I think Kieran McKenna, I believe, has been working on with him as well. I believe it is him. And I've been working on, is it Carrick? He's one of the two. Carrick or McKenna have been working with Bissaka about his play on the ball. I think it's a good signing, but it will be a better signing once we get someone in front of him who will take 100%. That load off him. Whether that's a Jadon Sancho, which everyone's been sort of wanting and talking about, or if it's someone else, we need to get someone on that right-hand side because we've been playing Lingard there, we've been playing Mason Greenwood, we've been playing Mata. We need a right winger who will play on that right side, which will then complement what Wan-Bissaka brings. So I'd say Wan-Bissaka, brilliant signing. Because at the end of the day, his job is to defend, and obviously I know the game's changed. Football's now a multifaceted game where you need to be able to do both sides. But what he excels at, you can't buy. That is tough to find. And so that is a great signing. Daniel James, Ollie's come out and said he shouldn't have played as many games as he has. So the criticism he gets is harsh to an extent. I do feel like the media overplay how good he's been for us 100%. And how good he could be. But I do feel as though the fan base that are on socials and stuff are a tad harsh on him as well. So he could be a good squad member, especially in games where it's stretched. You need pace. You want someone to stretch the game for the last 20, 25 minutes to really cause them problems on the counter-attack. He could be. And in games where maybe, we're sitting back and we're playing in the low block and we want to let him break, he could be really, really good for us. So in moments, James could be really good for us, as he's shown. But as an overall signing, not impressive. So when you overlook the whole strategy, that needs to be supplemented by really good footballers who are either coming through the youth, who are either purchased from abroad or other clubs in the Prem. But we need to supplement those British signings. We can't just go gung-ho and think, let's just go core British. That's all that's important. It is important, but we also need to make sure that we can keep the likes of Pogba, ideally. If he's happy to be here, we can keep a Martial if he can take his game to where he needs to take it. We can get an Eric Bailly fit, who at his best is a really, really good centre-back. We need those type of players as well as we need that British core. They definitely go together.
Yeah, I echoed like almost everything you just said there, guys, because I think what it was not just a criticism from fans around the world. It was actually a realisation of the club that we're going in the wrong direction here, and we have been for years. They've screwed up with recruitment. You got to say that the criticism was right. We're buying players that are the wrong end of 25, super money, not performing. And we wasn't really buying players for longevity. It just wasn't happening. You look at the culture shift in signings, and yes, there's a bit of like a core British thing there, but then you bring in like a Bruno Fernandes, where you're saying you need like foreigners in and amongst that who manner at just levels. 100% agree. And then, you know, where you talk about giving credit and stuff, yeah, I said about Ollie maybe not being tactically at it early on. It might have been just like a kick and hope sort of thing, and it turned out all right for a bit, then went to shit. But what you can't take away from him is his signings. You know, it's 5 out of 5 if you think about it.
And the players that he's let go of as well. I think
100%, the right players.
Yeah, so do you think Lukaku should have left? Because for me, he was a striker that banged in goals. We've seen what he's going to do at Inter Milan. Surely in this Man United team, when you look at what you're missing, that link man, that target man, surely there was a place for him.
You know what it is? Yeah, I agree with Gaz straight away again now, because at the end of the day, yeah, he didn't want to be here. After a certain time, he decided, like, if you're going to put Martial up there instead of me, or play Rashford sometime, and we know what Lukaku's ego is like, because he scores goals wherever he's gone. So he's like, wherever I go, I need to be number one because I will score goals. I get it, but also you have to play to that player's strengths. Like if you're not getting in cross after cross into the box for Lukaku, or getting him not playing with his back to goal as much, then you're not going to get the best out of him. And you got to respect the manager in that sense. If he thinks I'm not going to go down that route, then fair enough. I back the idea. If you're gonna, our biggest thing wasn't getting rid of Lukaku. The biggest thing was not replacing him. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't mind having a new idea, because we spoke right at the start, even with Jose crying out saying about moulding his team and stuff like that. All right, fine. If a manager comes in, we've all been around football and stuff. If you want to come in and implement your ideas, that's fine. But you need to be given the tools and the backing to do it. And the fact that he didn't replace him for whatever reason, whether the board just couldn't get one over the line, or whether he thought, I'll be all right with just Martial. Because really, he gave Martial his 9 shirt back and said, you're going to be my number 9. So he made his choice. And Martial has done well since then.
I think they're probably go on. Sorry. Also, it's an interesting one, because we are very, very, until Gala came in, which is not necessarily the most ideal signing, but he's done quite well as a squad player.
Yeah.
Until that had come in, we were really, really short on that sort of front 3, front 4 position. We were really, really struggling. So I agree that reflects that. Let go of Lukaku, fine. Can't just rely on Martial as your only 9. Because what you do, if Martial gets injured, you then have to put Rashford up front.
Which is what happened.
Which takes away from our left wing, where we've now have to maybe play Daniel James on the left, and then maybe Matt or Lingard on the right, which isn't what you want. So we've kind of, the team was very much imbalanced in that forward position up until maybe we brought Bruno in, he solidified the midfield a bit. But in terms of, I'm kind of going off, sorry. In terms of that front position, we definitely had to bring someone else in.
Yeah.
And Lukaku, again, I don't think he necessarily fitted into what Ollie wanted to play in terms of the way he spoke about playing quick transitional football, the one-touch football, Lukaku really struggled to link play for us. Like the ball would break down with him constantly. PSG.
There was the jokes about the baggy touch, playing in Levi jeans, all that kind of stuff.
All of that, yeah, and it was
comes
true.
From a real place, bro. It comes from evidence. Bro.
It wasn't an agenda thing.
It's
it was not an agenda.
The play, you're so right, guys. The play, when you watch it, especially live as well, yeah. And I used to say this thing that he used to do, yeah. It pissed me off, yeah. You see the New York traffic man them in Times Square just pointing and waving and that, yeah. That's what he used to do, brother. He used to ask for the ball in some stupid ass positions, almost like Pogba would sometimes go, don't even trust man's going to look after. I'm just going to go inside. 100%. I'm being serious. Being serious. I see it week in, week out. And like he's just putting his arm up, or like not making a movement, but just saying here, here, here. And I'm just like, nah. Like, there was a one time, you know what time was the maddest time? Yeah. When he tripped over the ball at Southampton, mash up his knee. Remember that? Remember that? Yeah, he tried to step over some bullshit. Yeah. Come on, bro. Like, you think Martial's ever doing that?
Okay.
And he looked extremely heavy just to end on that.
Yes.
Okay, so moving on, I've been, heavily critical of Ollie's management, saying that he's inept. And sometimes my analysis may come across as lazy, but one thing I have deciphered is that one thing that you have to give Ollie credit for is he's very good at getting the best out of attacking players. So in terms of you know, the development of Martial, the development of Rashford, McTominay's become a key figure in the midfield. We've seen Bruno Fernandes come in and hit the ground running. He looks like the best thing since sliced bread. From a tactical standpoint, what does Ollie do to get the best out of these players?
Go on, guys.
Go on, now, Flex, you go first. I went on the last one. Go on.
You know what, yeah? I'm still, my jury is still out. My jury is still out in terms of how tactically astute he is. I've still seen him be undone. Having said that, I think in terms of being able to raise individual players' confidence has contributed to him being bailed out of a lot. And that's not me taking away from what Solskjaer's done, because he's had some amazing results this year and some horrendous ones. And really, there's two ways of looking at this coin, innit, yeah? You can look at it like, until Bruno Fernandes come in, we were shit. Because it was our worst start in 30 years.
Yeah, but Flex, I'm going to pause you there. Couldn't Ollie say, look, I'm justified. I don't have the quality to be good, but once I get the quality, you see the turn of form straight away.
100%. But this is why I'm saying you can't knock him for the signings that he's brought in and where he's got us in the league. That's why I'm saying there's two sides to the coin. There's that side where the fans can go, well, we just got lucky because we weren't even going to get Fernandes in January, because if McTominay and Pogba didn't get injured, we wouldn't even have bought him anyway. But then you could say, but if those two were fit the whole time, we might have been all right. It swings and roundabouts. But I feel like the jury's still out on him tactically. I still feel like he's learning at this level as well, at this level of management. Cardiff and Mulder is not Man United, innit? And I feel like he's still finding his feet, which has been a big part of our inconsistency. Do you know what I'm saying? So I more lean on the side of, you know what? I don't know if Solskjaer's ever going to win us a Champions League, a Premier League within the next 3 years or so. My gut feeling is probably not. But I do feel that he's the perfect guy to pass the baton on and leave us in a much better shape, in a much better rebuild. This is the best part of a rebuild I've seen since Sir Alex has left, in terms of the players that we've built in, that we've brought in and integrated into the squad, the players that we're now linked with. Because, my God, if Sancho comes into this team, and I know it's if, buts and maybes, and you know how it's going to drag on through the summer. If you can't tell me a front three of Martial, Rashford and Sancho with Fernandes and Pogba just behind that, and whichever defensive midfielder you want to put in there, it's not frightening. I don't care what anyone says, but whoever's the manager, it's as good as anyone's midfield and front three. It is. Then you look at the back four, and until this break come with the coronavirus, the last 11 games, we only conceded like 9 goals or something like that. Scored like 28. Do you know what I mean? We were playing well. Harry Maguire's come in and solidified himself. Wan-Bissaka's been brilliant defensively. Luke Shaw's upped his game with the emergence of Brandon Williams. That basically gave him the kick up the arse. You've got the emergence of Brandon Williams. Okay, Lindelof, a little bit shaky sometimes. People are always saying we need maybe a better suitor to Harry Maguire, but he's been okay. Bailly's been okay when he come in. We might go in for another centre-half. And all of a sudden, Pogba coming back injured into this Man United team. Fred's been playing very well. It's like a different complexion. And you have to give Solskjaer credit for that, because he's built that complexion, however it might finish. So I think the tools there and the rebuild has looked as good as it's ever done. And for me, the question I've been asked on the United stand to a lot of fans is, should Solskjaer go if we don't get top 4? Like, should his success this season be judged purely on that? You know, Pochettino waiting in the wings. A lot of people have decided they want Pochettino from a long time ago and all of this. Make the change right now, be ruthless. We've got good players. Give it to a better manager. And I just think if he gets even just short of top 4, I'm willing to give it another year. I am, just to see where we go from here, especially the summer transfer window. If you get a Sancho in, we're going to improve as a squad regardless. And I'm just willing to see where it goes. I think he's earned that, to see where it goes.
Yeah, Flex, you spent a lot of time, in the Man United camp. We've seen the pictures away with Lingard and Agallo. So when you speak to the players, because you're in close contact with them, how are they feeling under Solskjaer? Do they think, you know what, this is a guy that we can stick it out with, that can lead us to potentially challenge him for titles?
I think so. I think they're just a lot happier now. Like if you just strip it back to basics and forget they're £1 million footballers, yeah? When we all go into our place of work, whether it's an office, whether it's the supermarket, whether it's wherever, yeah? You want to be happy. As soon as you step through the door, you want a good working environment. You want a manager that's got your back, a manager that can understand your difficulties, a manager that can understand your strengths, a manager that wants the best for you, progress, to get promotions. You want a good Do you know what I mean? Cohesive group working environment. And Solskjaer's definitely brought that. The players look happier. I've not, and also the fans like the team again. Do you get that? Like, as a Man United fan, I've not really looked at it for a while and thought, I like these men. Do you know what I'm saying? I like Wan-Bissaka. I like Fred. I've always liked Martial and Rashford. I've always loved Pogba, but I love Bruno already. I like what Maguire's doing. I like Luke Shaw. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that's been built. That's not by accident. That you have to give credit to the coaching staff, and they've created that. Whether that transpires, like I said, into top honours, I don't know. Maybe not. But I think they deserve the chance to see that. And when I've been around players, away from just meeting them and seeing that they're happier, what I've picked up is the training sessions. Like when I've gone to like closed training sessions and stuff, or even like open ones, like I've seen like the players, like when I was on tour, when we went to Singapore and China and all these places, yeah, the cohesive unit, like amongst the players, like it was different to when I saw it under Jose. It really was. And then when I spoke to a lot of journalists who are even more in there than me, more seasoned journalists who interview Ollie a lot and interview the players more in depth. They've said that like the biggest thing they can notice is the difference in the energy, the camp around the place. Everyone's just a lot happier. And sometimes that's the best place to start. It's not what's going to only get you trophies, but Klopp has built that plus more. Do you know what I'm saying? A happy, but I don't think you get the rest of it until that basis is there. And I think Solskjaer's given us that.
Gaz, this is one for you. Obviously, Flex just mentioned, Fred as one of the players that, that's improved. For you, in terms of tactically, what has he improved? Because I remember watching him last season, and he almost looked like a rabbit in headlights, to be quite honest. What has he done to, improve? And now a lot of fans are saying that he should be the Man United player of the season.
I always think you need to give players some time and grace to adjust to. It's like moving jobs. If you move jobs, sometimes you might hit the ground running because it's easy for you, and sometimes you might need time to acclimatise to your new working environment. I think the same applies to Fred. He's moved countries, so it's a new league to play in as well. At first, he looked very much unaware of where he needed to be on the pitch, what he needed to do with the ball. When the ball came to him, he was quite fidgety and he still is like that now to a very small degree, but he's a lot more composed on the ball. I've always thought he can pass the ball quite well, actually, to be fair to Fred. Even when he sort of struggled, you could see that he could break lines quite well. He's left-footed, so it already gives him a different dynamic to his game to any other footballer because, as you know, as Dej knows, left-footers,
yeah, bro.
They bring a different dynamic to the game to what right footers will, just because it's about the balance they bring. His high energy. I just think he needed time to acclimatise. I wouldn't say he's done anything massively tactically to improve. I just think he needed time to adjust to what it was, what the league was. But definitely now we can see what he brings to the team. He's not Pogba. He's not going to step over the ball 4 times and then beat his man. But what he can bring to you is high energy on and off the ball in terms of ball carrying, in terms of tracking back and pressing. He can pass the ball really well. And I just think he's improved in that aspect of his confidence is now there. He just needed a bit of time. And I think that's all footballers, especially when you, as I said, move leagues or move clubs. He just needed that brief period to get that bad run out of his system, if you like. I think what I'm now seeing is that whether he's player of the year, I think Rashford might have got that up until he got injured, to be fair to Marcus. But yeah, in terms of Fred, he's done really, really well. But again, I want to see this next year before I really give him any accolades. I don't want to give him, because we see it, players have a good season in the next year. As much as a player might start the season bad and then the next year he's good, he might have a good year. The next year, but you're not seeing what you saw the year before. So I would really like to see what he's like next year, especially if we do bring in some more reinforcements in the summer. But yeah, well done to Fred.
Yeah, I just want to, talk about Man United's 2 January signings briefly. Obviously, Odion Ighalo coming from China. Initially, when we saw this, we were thinking, wow, what poor planning. How can Man United be going for someone in China who's 30? And also Bruno Fernandes. This has been like a long-running saga to get him out of Sporting Lisbon. So, Flex, you've been up close and personal with the action. What do you think Bruno Fernandes has brought to the camp? Not just his ability, but when you hear the press, you hear people talk about the winning mindset. How would you say this has influenced these teammates around him?
Exactly that. It's infectious what he's done. Like, people say, yes, the Portuguese league and all of this, but he's captain at Sporting. You're not captain of a club that size in Portugal if you don't have a bit about you. Do you know what I'm saying? A lot about you. Away from how good he actually is technically and his intensity and his willingness to think forward at all times and make things happen, it's actually a lot is his personality and what he brings off the ball. His first game, which was Wolves at home, is a 0-0 ball fest, to be fair. And but what impressed me about him, where I sit as well, like in the Sir Alex Ferguson stand, right by the halfway line near the front, he was in Daniel James's ear, like in his ear,
coaching him through the game.
Listen, I'm telling you, man, this guy, you won't see it on TV, yeah, but when you see him, anytime there's a break in play or someone's down injured or something's happening, he's going to someone, covering his mouth, do this, come around here. You know when you can just tell a player is taking control of situations. And also, when he's played a ball and played it quickly and the person wasn't there or whatever, he's going back to him and saying, listen, go, I will find you. Do you know what I'm saying?
We saw that against City as well. 100%. One of the goals, yeah.
100%. And you see what I'm saying? That connection, that was a perfect example. Him and that Martial goal, that's been worked on. And that Martial doesn't make that run if he doesn't believe Bruno's going to do that ball. He doesn't. It's as simple as that. That's what happens with working with players with this level of IQ and football intelligence. And Bruno has that as a package. In contrast to Fred, how you talk about a foreign player can come, we was potentially waiting for him to give him that time, because he could have come and not had that much of impact straight away. We're just very, very lucky that he's managed to have such an impact so quickly, and we've needed him to do that, because the biggest thing he's brought is creativity in that era. We've had Lingard playing in number 10, we've had Pereira playing in number 10, Matter at times, and we're seeing just bad decisions being made in them areas. Pereira especially. He's got a lot of tech, you know what I mean? He looks silky on the ball. But when it comes to decision making, horrendous. It really is. He really has been bad. Lingard, I think there's a lot going on off the pitch with him, and he just looks a shadow of himself.
There was rumours about his mum being ill or something like that. So
that's right.
He's bear that in mind.
100%. And I spoke to some people who do know him very well, and they do say, look, when he's ready to really talk about these things, he will. And Troy said that as well, and a few other people I know who know him, and you know that's fine. But you're always going to be judged on your footballing performances when you're playing, which is how it should be. And he's been terrible. So I think what he's done is he's come in and proven that, you know, assist straight away, goal straight away. He's just different level.
And I think with Bruno as well, he takes risks. And in football, there's no reward without risk at times. Of course, tactics and you know, you want to be as coherent tactically as possible. But at the end of the day, what will win you games is by trying something that no one else on the pitch will do to win that game. And I think that's what he's brought to the table.
And straight on it, he's on penalties, free kicks, everything, because of the quality that he's got. Do you know what I'm saying? He's just been bang on it. Corners, every set piece, he's on it.
Final question, because we've literally got 5 minutes left, but we just got a listener's question, and it's from Tapping Tops, and it says, with Pogba fit, what's the best possible midfield trio for United? Pogba and Bruno will have to start, so could Fred work well at the base, or would that role go to McTominay? Very quickly.
It all depends on who we're facing, I believe. Which is an easy get out for me to use, isn't it? Like,
it is. It is, but it's true though.
But it does depend on who we're facing. There might be games where Pogba and Bruno can't play both together. But I think, generally speaking, for 80% of the games, I would like to see us go and buy a DM in the summer, personally. Not to say Matic hasn't done really well, because you forgot about him. Because he's done well since he came in December. December, January, he's done really well since then. But again, I know what he's like. We've seen it with Chelsea and United. He starts well and then fades in as the season goes on. And he's on the plus side of 30. I'd like to see us bring in someone who can do both sides, sort of like a Fabinho who can do
Thomas Partey,
the defensive work.
Madrid, maybe.
That's been the talk. That's been the talk.
Even Saul Niguez is being mentioned as well.
Yeah, I'd like to just bring someone that can do both sides of the game in that sort of holding role, midfielder role. But if we're going off what we've got now, I'd probably go. I'd probably go Matic. I don't want to say it.
Yeah,
I'll probably go Matic,
Nah,
Pogba and
talk up
Bruno.
the thing. Yes, yeah, talk up the thing. Talk up the thing. But you know what it is? Matic, like, you know what it is? Matic has been like villain number one, and me as a fan as well, I've had to hold my hands up because he was poor before, but like he is a steady player, very experienced player, keeps things very simple, and more importantly, he gives balance and calmness in the midfield. Like, yeah, he can't move that quick and that, but he's so experienced. And McTominay, a lot of people think like he's a defensive midfielder. He's not. He's not a defensive midfielder. He's box to box. He actually makes a lot of attacking runs. Hence how he scored quite a few goals. He's got a good third man run. You know what Lampard used to do, arrive late. He does that very well, and that's how he's got a few of his goals that he's got this season. So he's not the right guy for that. Fred is kind of very energetic and buzz about, not as much disciplined in terms of just sit. Like he can actually influence the midfield pace of it and dictate our play, because what he does very well is he gets it and he can either travel quickly or pass quickly. Do you see what I'm saying? Whereas your traditional holding midfielder, if you've got two attacking midfielders like a Pogba and Bruno, you need that kind of calm head for the balance. They're literally their first thought is, hold on a minute, we're on attack, let me stay here, sort of thing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So, but people underestimate Pogba as a deeper lying player as well.
Yeah, just finally from me, I wanted to ask both of you. Obviously, the next 12 to 18 months for Ollie is going to be crucial and pivotal to seeing how his tenure is established. So, from both of you, what's the next free in-tray task for Ollie to solve at Manchester United? Briefly.
There's 2 minutes.
Yeah,
2 minutes. All right, I'll go quickly. He needs to find a centre-back partnership that's going to be longevity and no question marks over it with the Lindelof situation, whether that means we get another one or not. But he needs to find a solution there. Have to sort out the right-hand side. Must, absolute must. That's priority number one. And I'd say a defensive midfielder.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Guys, go on. Quickly.
I'll say the same. Right winger, getting Sancho. Pay the dollars. Pay the dollars on Sancho.
100%.
Give him aeroplanes. Give him jets. Give him mansions. Give him what he. Jokes aside, getting a right winger. I'd say I don't believe we need a 9 if we have a front three that's quite fluid.
100%.
So would you keep Igalo?
Yeah, 100%.
As a squad player, yeah, I'll keep it as a squad player. Definitely.
We're going to leave it
coming through as well.
We're going to leave it there. It's been a real pleasure. Lovely. That was a wonderful insight. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks you, guys. We appreciate you coming onto the platform. Flex, massive shout out, man. We love what you're doing. We appreciate you coming onto the platform.
It's really dope. Well done.
Yeah, man.
Really
appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
So, guys, that's another episode of the Beautiful Game
Safe
podcast.
Guys as well, man. Love.
Thank you for having me, man.
Big up.
This is going to be aired on YouTube. Follow our YouTube, which is the Beautiful Game Podcast. Subscribe, leave a thumbs up. We're also on Apple, we're on Spotify, and we're on SoundCloud. Give us a follow there. We're also on Twitter at podcast_TBG. On our Instagram is pod_TBG. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave a review. And
5 star.
Yeah, 5 stars.
That's it. Over and out. Safe, boys.
Love.
Peace.